Now the recording is happening.
So we may start.
Okay, so hello everyone. I think good morning from Scotland and good morning from where Marnie is in Spain, and then perhaps good afternoon, good evening, or even good night, wherever you are. Um, this is the EuroCALL Mobile Assisted Language Learning SIG webinar, and we're delighted to introduce Professor Rustam Shadiev, who will talk about mobile assisted language learning across different contexts, both familiar and unfamiliar, and some of the strategies in place to enhance EFL writing. Just a quick plan for today. First of all, we're going to have the talk with Professor Shadiev, and then at the end, Marnie and I will spend a couple of minutes talking about the EuroCALL 2026 conference and the MolSig Symposium, or in fact, this year it is a workshop. But first, I'd like to introduce Professor Shadiev, who works at the College of Education in Zhejiang University, China. He has a PhD from National Central University, Taiwan, and has also been a postdoctoral research fellow at National Cheng Kung University. His interests include technology-supported language learning and cross-cultural education, and I can see from my research that he is widely published and heavily cited. So it is our pleasure to introduce Dr. Shadiev. I will stop sharing now so he may start.
Okay, thank you, Professor Martin, and for your wonderful introduction. And yeah, as Professor Martin said, I work at the College of Education, Zhejiang University, and my primary research interests relate to usage of advanced educational technologies for teaching and learning. So mostly I focus on mobile assisted language learning, artificial intelligence in education, and also some parts of my research relates to cross-cultural learning. And just one slide about our university. This university locates in eastern part of China, Zhejiang province, from Shanghai, around 1 hour by high-speed train. And all of you are welcome to visit someday. And this university is a pretty old university. So next year we celebrate 130 anniversary. And we have around more than 60,000 students and 37 colleges and schools. And the countries represented in our universities are around 140. And altogether we have 8 campuses. So this is a really huge university and really very beautiful. And all of you are welcome to Hangzhou. And as people say, Hangzhou is like a heaven on earth. And okay, this is about my study I'm going to present. This study we complete in our lab a few years ago, and that study was published just maybe last year and published officially in an issue this year. So this is about how we can arrange mobile assisted language learning in different authentic learning environments, which can be familiar but also can be unfamiliar, and how these learning activities may impact language learners' writing, performance, their proficiency, and also their perceptions. So most of all, we all as educators focus on effective language learning, which means we want our learners succeed in the they have a proficiency and also have a positive outcomes, but this is not always a case, because there are some other issues that may may create barriers. For example, in many countries that learners learn languages like English, maybe many common languages, Spanish, French, Chinese, Russian. That language can be not the like the main language, the target language or communication language. So, for example, in many Asian countries, English is not the common language you can experience in a real world. And also you can find, just like in these slides, many classes are teacher-oriented, and also some teachers like to make their classes textbook-based. And also in Asian countries, we experience such problem as exam-oriented classes, because there is a very huge competition to enter like from kindergarten to enter K-12 schools, then go to like a high school, then from high school enter university, then go to the graduate school. So always students need to compete, and those who can pass exam can win. So mostly classes based on exam, and usually students they will learn language in classroom, and do not have too much effort, or maybe not too much task to apply what they learn in a real context. So will bring some problems in effectiveness of the teaching and learning of languages. And we can change the situation to make it more like a student-centered, more like active, make students learn actively, assign them some task, and what they learn in class, try to apply outside of the class. And also we in our lab, in our studies, we try to follow some theoretical foundation. For example, language input, language output. And for effective language learning, is better have an equal input and equal output. But as I mentioned, in many contexts, in many countries, regions, students learn languages. They have a lot of input, but not so much output. So it's not balanced well. Okay, and then another idea we have is following famous theories and frameworks like language learning in the context, because language learning in the context is very important. So how they use in the context, how they use in the real life is very important, because context is very important for language acquisition, for uh, improving the competencies. And for example, just like I mentioned, textbook learning. So this is the picture of the textbook I borrowed from my daughter. So she learned in a school about shopping. The topic is at the market. So you can find there is a like a display of like a sausages, eggs, and different kind of items in the supermarket. And you can from this on the left side you can learn some vocabulary. Then on the right side you can have some like a dialogue, and the you can also learn the numbers. You can also learn like the currency. There is a currency, and also can practice some dialogue. So this is usually will happen in a classroom. So students will learn those new vocabulary. They will learn sentence pattern, and then they will have some dialogue with maybe their classmates and practice. And how about if we ask students like what they learn in a classroom, they can try to apply in the real world. For example, have some meaningful conversation, some meaningful like application of newly learned knowledge. So this is why we can compare textbook and authentic context, the differences. For example, when you only have a textbook learning, this is a more abstract and the contextualized knowledge. But when you have a learning in authentic context, is a meaningful and also relevant because you don't do these dialogues, recall of new vocabulary in your mind. You do it in a real with your real experience. You will calculate, you will maybe hand into the clerk, and then also there are several places where you can even talk to clerk in English. They can talk to you back, and you can practice the language. And another thing we consider in our study is learning in familiar and unfamiliar context. Because when we have this idea to extend classroom learning to outside of the classroom context, we also need to consider that context can be familiar or that context can be unfamiliar to our students. For example, what is an unfamiliar context? Context that you maybe never been there and never experienced. For example, I believe, except two of my students who are now attending this presentation, none of you come to JJN University, or at least none of you come to my office, right? So you don't know where is the location. So you can see our campus is very huge. So from one side, if you walk to another side, it will take approximately 45 minutes. And can you find how to enter this university? Because this university have four main gates. And do you know where is my office and how to go there, which is more efficient way? So these questions are, yeah, you will experience in unfamiliar context. I believe most of you, if you go to some maybe meetings, some conferences, maybe dates, attend some activities, then people will send you the address. Then you will ask, can you send me like the exact location using Google Map or maybe Tencent a map or some other map used in different countries. Then it is easily can be found, but from the map it's very difficult. So how to reach Zhejiang University? How long does it take? Where is the entrance? How to find the building? How long does it take? Any shortcuts? Any shady routes? You know, now Hangzhou is experience very hot weather, around 35 degrees, very sunny, very high UAV. It's better to find some shady routes, right? And find some shortcuts to arrive faster. So this is about unfamiliar context. And I think most of you know some learning activities may take outside of the classroom in unfamiliar context. For example, we come across many studies, they focus on language learning. They learn like some topics about animals. They learn some vocabulary, also sentence patterns, some dialogues. Then teacher like to take them to zoo to make students use mobile technology or use maybe textbooks to see real animals and maybe practice there and have a more authentic context. But usually children don't go zoo every day, and this context can be unfamiliar for them. And how about this is the bottom picture is a museum, National Palace Museum. So sometimes teacher will take students to museum, also arrange learning activities there. Also, this place is unfamiliar. So where students can learn and where the learning can be more efficient, this is a very important question, especially if they come to unfamiliar environment. And for example, you already come to Hangzhou several times, you already come to my office maybe several times. You will become familiar. You will become familiar. What is the best way to come? What is the best transportation to take? Where you can enter? Where is a shortcut? Where you can take a break, drink coffee, and so on and so on. Then context become familiar to you because you know the context, you know what kind of people there, what kind of objects, what kind of situations or what kind of scenarios may happen there. So this environment become familiar, and when you go there to do some learning, to participate in learning activities, this can be more useful for you. For example, how to come to Zhejiang University. Okay, you know, from East Railway Station, you can take metro line 19, and it usually takes 20 minutes. Then you need to get off Zhejiang University metro station. Then you go through the big, like big gate of Zhejiang University, and usually from metro to our building. You can see our building is the one with the dark roof, the like a six story building, and very easily you can maybe reach in around 10 minutes. Okay, and this idea about familiar, unfamiliar environment, learning there can be explained by the cultural schema theory. So this is all about how we learn some new information in a context, and that information will be stored in our brain as a cultural schemata. And then when you enter there, they're always updated with the new details, with the new features. For example, 1 year, the whole year, you can see this environment. You go there every day, just like we usually will ask students go to familiar environment like the community, the local convenience store, maybe the sport club, and some places they go every day, so they can see. But maybe sometimes there is some new changes, something happened, maybe there's some constructions, or maybe there's some new bus stop, or maybe new transportation crossing. So this new information will be updated in our brain, and then through this process we become familiar with the environments. And familiar context may create advantages for our language learning. So we can have a benefits for our comprehension and also application of new knowledge, and also can be helpful for our cognitive processes. For example, when you enter unfamiliar environment, you need to learn what is there, what kind of resources you can use for your learning task. And this will take your much of information processing, and also may cause some cognitive load. And this is some examples. And okay, and another approach we use in our studies, task-based learning. I believe most of you are familiar with it. This is when we assign students some task, some meaningful task, and then they need to complete it. For example, we ask students buy a book in a bookstore, and then maybe write an essay, or maybe write a dialogue, what happened, what they did. So they will, in class, they will learn new knowledge. Then they go to a bookstore, buy a book, and then apply what they learn. And then maybe write down the reflection about what happened and about the experiences. And of course, mobile assisted language learning. So when we want to extend classroom language learning to outside of the classroom, we will need mobile technology, because mobile technology can enable seamless learning experiences. So they may learn in classroom, then they go outside, and the mobile technology can like provide learning content, provide learning tasks. They can create multimodal content. They can text. They can take a picture, record video, record audio. They can also share with their peers, learn from each other, get some inspirational ideas from each other. And also they can access rich learning resources from the internet. And recently we also have a like artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence, smart feedback, smart tutoring, smart guidance. So mobile technology with these kind of features can also guide students' learning. And in our studies, we try to explore the effectiveness of learning in familiar and unfamiliar environment, and we focus on the writing performance, writing proficiency, writing performance on the task, and also on the experiences. So in this study, we have 50 university students. They are from China, from Nanjing, and we had 50 students. We administered a pretest to measure their prior knowledge, and then we group students into control and experimental group. So first we randomly divided students like a 30 students randomly into two groups, and then to keep balance in their prior knowledge, then we selectively assign students to have students in balanced in terms of prior knowledge in both groups. Then they took EFL course, and also they had like an orientation, how to learn with mobile technology. So we developed a mobile tool. We show this tool to our students, explain the functionalities, and how to learn in familiar and unfamiliar environment. So we need to make sure students go to unfamiliar environment, not to familiar environment in a control group. And the same for experimental group. They need to go to a familiar environment instead of unfamiliar environment. And the students completed 4 different tasks. And these 4 different tasks related to chapter in the textbook. So task number 1 is environmental issues. Second one is a healthy lifestyle. Third one is a transportation. 4 is the dining experiences. 5 is iconic places. So we selected these topics to match the everyday learning experiences, the life experiences. For example, environmental issues. They will learn some new vocabulary and sentence pattern. They also will practice dialogues in class. Then they will go outside, and students in control group, they will go to unfamiliar environment, the environment they never been before, or they had a very minimal exposure to. And the experimental group students, they went to familiar environment. Then they will try to identify some issues related to local environment. For example, some people threw garbage, and not just one person, but there is like a lot of garbage. So they will take picture, they will explain where are they, what they found, and what are consequences, and how this can be prevented. Or, for example, healthy lifestyle, they can go to like in China, there's have a many places like squares, and the people will go there to exercise in the early morning or in a late evening. They can go there, Also in a university, they have a sporty field. People will jogging and play soccer, maybe basketball, badminton, a lot of sports. So they will also try to document some like a little stories about what they saw, what their experiences, some reflections, and the same for the rest topics. And then after that, we had post-test and the interview. And this is our learning system. So students can access this learning system with their mobile devices, and it provides a textbook. So this is a electronic textbook. If you click, you can see the learning content, the whole content they learn in a textbook, but this is an electronic version. Then learning task, they will open clicking this button, and they can see what they need to do and the steps about this learning task. Then we also have a learning map. So when they create content, they need to use learning map and uh, pin pin their location in the learning map. This is very important. And another one is a dictionary. So if they have some experience some unfamiliar vocabulary, they can use dictionary, and also communication tool. This tool for students to communicate with each other, share content, maybe ask questions. Okay, this is a lesson one, and also related uh, task number one. And here is a map. So I would like to explain why we need this map. So you can see on the left there are 15 students, right? So if you click, for example, number one student, then you can see all pins where students created content. And if you click student number two, you can see all pins where student created content. So these pins, when you click them, uh, they will open content they created. So why this is important to show exact location? Because when students see the content, they need to understand where this content was recorded, because students will also give some feedback, and also they will try to maybe give some suggestions, some ideas. And also you can learn from this content shared by students, because if you have some problems to create content, you can get inspirational ideas from your peers. Okay, and then about our data collection, as I mentioned, we had pre-test and post-test. This is to measure the proficiency. So we had a test designed based on a college English test. This is very popular test in mainland China. We had 18 items, and the maximum score was 100. So there are English, Chinese, Chinese, English, phrase translation, sentence translation, and also essay writing. And the task, as I mentioned, students had 5 tasks. So we also measured content they create in the task. So we measured in terms of, we evaluated in terms of amount of writing, content quality, organization, creativity, grammar, and vocabulary. And each was evaluated on a 5-point scale. And then we had interview with 10 randomly selected students from both groups, and we use open coding approach to analyze interview data. Okay, and then our results. So first, we focus on EFL writing proficiency. So this is a ENCOVA for post-test comparison. So in this test, we use pre-test as a covariate. And when we compare two groups, we found there is a difference between experimental and control group, and the experimental group performed better than control group. And this is a writing performance. As I mentioned, we have 5 different tasks, and also we have different dimension about the task, like amount, content, organization, creativity, grammar, vocabulary. So if we see each task, the value, we can see that all of them have a difference. So means students who learn in familiar environment, they content created was scored better than content of students who learn in unfamiliar environment. And then we have interview with our students to know about the experiences, to know about the experiences. So we found there are three big themes or categories. So one is emotional engagement. So you can see this category has three codes or subcategory like interest, enjoyment, relaxation, and you can see there's a definition. So interest, students feel some interest in learning, enjoyment. So students enjoy to learn, and the relaxation. So students feel free of tension and anxiety. So you can see there's extracts, so positive and also negative. So positive, this is come from students in an experimental group. Just like I was really interested in completing tasks and so on and so on, because I was familiar with this environment. And negative, this is come from students in a control group. So what they say, I had to complete this task in a cafeteria outside of campus, and this environment was not familiar, and this unfamiliarity significantly dampened my enthusiasm. And then also we have another category is a cognitive engagement. So there are subcategories like confidence, engagement, perceived content quality, amount of created content, and also have a definition and also feedback provided by the student in a control and experimental group. And also mostly students in experimental group provided positive feedback, and students in a control group provided negative feedback. And the third category is a learning environment. So you can find there's subcategories like resources, time, opportunity, more. So you can find also students in an experimental group mention like in a familiar environment, I knew exactly what resources were available for completing the task because I was familiar. And negative students in a control group mentioned I didn't know which resources and were available, and also mentioned this is was problematic to complete learning task. And You can see the last item, the last subcategory, mobile assisted language learning. This is no difference between control and experimental group, because this has nothing to do with the what kind of environment. This is about technology use. So they mention, okay, this technology was useful, easy to use, and the perceptions was positive of students in both groups. Okay, yeah. Here also other subgroups about learning environment, like a useful, flexibility, accessibility, multimedia content, about technology, about mobile technology we developed in our research. Okay, and then a summary of our study. So based on our results, we found students in familiar environment, they had better scores in post-test, and also better scores on the writing task compared to students in unfamiliar environments. So they had like an emotional and cognitive engagement, and also had the benefits in terms of learning environments. We just mentioned, I just mentioned from the interview results. And also there is like a classroom learning and learning in authentic context outside of the classroom. So when you learn in outside of the classroom, this environment is more complex, and there are more distractions. So uh, on top of this, if the environment is unfamiliar, this is also will bring some burden on students. And about our learning system, we found is a user-friendly and beneficial for students in both groups. And what our suggestions for teaching and research communities, we can design mobile-assisted language learning activities. So to extend classroom learning into real-world environments, so students learn new knowledge, new concepts in the classroom. Then they go outside to apply what they learn in class to solve everyday real life problems. And this way they can apply the newly learned knowledge. They can also like have more output and improve their language proficiency competencies. And also like is better if context is more familiar, because this can facilitate the learning. But it doesn't mean students should not go to unfamiliar environment. So what we may suggest is if students go to unfamiliar environment, maybe the instructor need to suggest some strategies for students to get familiar get familiar with the context before the learning take place. So when they come to unfamiliar environment, they can already know what they can do there, what kind of resources they can uh, find there, and what kind of content they can create there. For example, maybe I'm not sure. Like in my experience, if I want to go to some unfamiliar place, I will usually try to find this location on a map, because now many maps has a like a 360-degree view. You can just click that location, and then you can see around and see what you can expect to experience there, can, what kind of resources you can find there, and how you can use them for learning. And this is also in real life. When you come there, for example, some place where you have meeting, you can easily identify it. So this is not difficult. Just follow some useful strategies to get familiar with that environment. And this can be helpful for your learning. Okay, and also we need to mention about, I need to mention about some limitations of our study is a small sample size, because we only had 50 students, 25 in both groups. And also duration of the learning activities is not very long. So if we had 5 tasks, each task may last maybe 1.5 weeks. And how about if we consider maybe one semester, or if we consider maybe one academic year? And how about if we have a sample size much bigger, then we can have a more robust and more robust fundings. So how about our future studies? So I just mentioned about strategies that can help learners to get acquainted with unfamiliar learning environments and make the learning more efficient. And also, because this research we did before this generative AI become easily available for us. So before we need to develop our own AI systems, now we can integrate generative AI. We can maybe feed our own data to improve accuracy rate, and then use this like a pedagogical agents, or maybe virtual tutor or virtual peer or learning companion to learn in a familiar or unfamiliar environment using mobile technology to get some inspirational ideas to create multimodal content. For example, you can take picture of some environment, and then you can make this picture more multimedia rich or more culturally rich by sending prompt to generative AI, and then generative AI can modify this picture to make it maybe embed some cultural elements to make it more information rich, to make it more meaningful. Or, for example, virtual tutor can monitor your performance 24/7 and provide instant corrective feedback. This can be useful, and this can be useful in a learning process, and we can also try to explore the benefits of these advantages in a mobile language learning. Okay, thank you very much. If you have any questions.
Yes, I have a question. First of all, thank you so much, Professor Shadiev, for this. Really, really interesting and a really nice, like it's a really cool study, which I'm going to think about myself. And as part of that, I was wondering, in your analysis, did you find that some locations or contexts, whether they're familiar or unfamiliar, are some of these contexts kind of more learning friendly than others? Are there good unfamiliar environments and bad unfamiliar environments, or in fact familiar as well? Are there certain characteristics that make some places better for learning than others? More activities or more internet or something like that? I don't know.
Okay, this is a very interesting questions, but we did not actually analyze this aspect because I think this is a good topic to explore. And we ask students to complete the task, and we actually did not trace where they whether they complete the learning task in different learning environments, because just like you say, they may go somewhere that environment is really bad, then they need to go to another environment which is much better. Yeah, we did not actually do that.
Because I mean, I just wonder if, for someone who's trying to implement the same kind of study, knowing in advance these places really help and these places don't help would be really interesting. Also, in terms of what kind of
What I
preparation, right? Yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
what I can only tell you is just like I mentioned, the eastern part of China now is very hot because it's a summer, sunny, high UAV. So when they go to some places, open places like stadium, because some topics about healthy lifestyle in Nanjing, there is a like a Olympic stadium is a very big, and there's a you cannot plant tree inside, right? So they go there, maybe they take picture of some athletes exercising, so it's maybe not very good for, I mean, in terms of it's very hot, very sunny, but if they do these activities on campus, is campus has a lot of trees, a lot of shadow, very cool, very nice. Yeah, this is I can tell, but the
Yeah.
rest I'm not sure. Sorry.
Okay, no. Thank you very much.
Mm.
And I wonder, does anyone else have any questions?
Hmm.
And of course, we are always open for some ideas, and we are also very open for collaboration. So
Hmm.
if you have some ideas, if you want to collaborate with us, I think They participant have my email, right? Or should I write down?
I think we can share for sure. We can share it
Okay,
with the,
okay,
yeah, we'll
okay,
be sending out an email afterwards because we will
okay,
publish the video. And I think we can include your email at that point if people are
okay.
interested in
Because
collaboration.
because I can see there's many very famous names, so that will be our pleasure,
Yeah.
our pleasure to have a collaboration.
Can I just ask one more question about the preparation? From the teacher's side, what was the biggest task for you in terms of preparing these kinds of tasks or sending people to these locations? What was the biggest piece of work for you or for your team?
So the biggest piece of work, this whole research is indeed a very big piece of work. So first, we need to come up with the idea. We need to come up with idea what students should do, what students shouldn't do, and also try to define what environments are familiar and unfamiliar. Also ensure students really understand because if you go to familiar environment and try to complete your task there, but you are in a control group, this may impact the results. And also, our students are very great because they could create a mobile system. They are education background. They are not computer science background. They graduate from normal university. This is called in China, but this is like a pedagogical university. They learn about education, educational principles, not about how to create systems. But what is good in China is there are many applications with open source and also some applications you can, they provide you possibilities to create some app uh, by yourself and not very difficult, not very difficult. So one thing was difficult is how to make students with no computer background to create a system. So they are very creative, they are very smart, they come up with these ideas to create the system. And of course, also to complete this project also took a lot of time and effort.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And just one more time, I'll open it up if anyone else has any questions. I mean, of course, feel free to put them into the chat or even better, turn on your mic. Okay, will we will we leave it there? So thank you so much, Professor Shadiev. Thank you so much for your presentation today. If I get the chance, I'm going to just share again.
Okay, Professor Marni, thanks a lot for organizing this seminar or workshop.
Our pleasure, really. Thank you for. And if I just wish I was a professor, that would be even better. Yeah.
Looking forward for more collaboration.
Yes, thank you. That would be fantastic. So thank you so much, Professor Shadiev. We really appreciate your time and enjoy your weekend, which for you hopefully is starting now.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, thank you.
yeah, I have a few more hours to go. So we just like to finish today by talking very quickly about EuroCALL 2026. This year it takes place at in Belfast, Northern Ireland, from September 8th to 11. And we have two things happening. The mobile assisted language learning SIG has two things happening. We have the SIG workshop and we have the AGM. And I think, Marnie, both of these still have to be confirmed in terms of date and time.
I don't believe the schedule is out yet,
Yeah,
so as soon as we know the exact day and time, I will have that published on the website and through social media.
yeah, fantastic. But we all, even though if we don't have a date or time or location, we do have a speaker. And the speaker is Dr. Mircea Lungu from the University of Copenhagen. And he will be talking about the challenges that people face in app development when they try to integrate large language models and neurolinguistic programming when talking about language reading platforms. So you can take a moment to read a shorter version of his abstract here. But basically, it's a workshop and the attendees will have the chance to use the platform for themselves and discuss their experiences of doing this. So that sounds like a very interesting workshop, and we hope to see some of you at the event. So I think that's it. Once again, thanks to our presenter, Professor Shadiev. Thank you to all of our
Thank you.
attendees. As Professor Shadiev said, we have some big names in the audience, which is great. And we hope to see as many of you in Belfast as we can.
Yes. And again, thank you, Professor Shadiev. Thank you also, Martin, for your assistance with this. And I will also be sending out certificates of participation after the call, where I can then send the contact information and links to the video.
So thank you very much, everyone. See you
Thank
soon.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
A wonderful day.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.